it takes a few minutes to get started, but I think it might be already recording. But hello everyone, my name is Elaine Waterman and I am the Executive Director at the Firehouse Art Center, and we are back for another live stream virtual kids art class. So this is live. I know last class on Tuesday I had to film it ahead of time, so I wasn't able to answer any questions live, but I am live now. So if you have any questions or comments throughout the class, definitely feel free to ask them. We are finishing up our Cars and Trucks week, and I am going to show you our project for today. I'm going to change it a little bit for our sample because this is what we're doing today. And here's my truck. And I actually am going to do this for the sample with the truck being movable, because I glued it on this one, and I don't, it's cool glued on, but now it's kind of stationary. But I like it if the truck were able to actually drive on the street. So we're going to do a car separate so that you can actually drive your truck or car up and down your street. And I'm going to show you step by step how to make the shapes and also create the elements for your cityscape and your car. So if you look, there are houses, but then there's also trees that are actually three-dimensional. So I'll show you how to do that and show you the best way to put your cityscape and car collage together. Now, collage is where you take different elements and you adhere them to one surface. And it can be paper, it could be fabric, it could be photographs. But a collage is just bringing different elements together and adhering them to one surface. It can be many different things. And you can also layer things, so one can overlap, so you can put one surface down and then overlap it by putting another thing down. So there's many different ways to do collage. And this one I used more of a puzzle piece kind of technique, where you'll see that this part is separate, this part is separate, and then this part's separate. But I'm going to actually teach it where you overlap. It'll be easier. And since this is cut paper and it doesn't really matter if we do puzzle or overlap. And overlap is a little bit simpler. So we're going to get started, but first I want to make sure that you guys have your supplies for today. And our supplies are pretty simple. Today we have to have one black piece of paper, and I only say one, but we do need some black for the car. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut a strip off the edge, and that's going to be for our car windows and also the car tires. And basically just an assortment of colored paper. Now you can see some of these are colored paper scraps. So you can save pieces, pieces as small as this. That could be a house. These can be used for windows or for the stripes for the street. So it's a really good way to use up some smaller pieces of colored construction paper that you might have around the house. And hi Julie, hi Joshua. And we can go from there. So basically you need your black paper, you need your colored paper. Since you're going to be cutting, you obviously need scissors. So scissors that are appropriate for your age. So these are adult scissors. Make sure that you have kids scissors, because those are a little bit safer for you guys and you won't cut your fingers. So make sure you have your age appropriate scissors, and you can either use a glue stick or you can use bottled glue. Or another thing that I sometimes do is I will take bottled glue or Elmer's white glue, put it in a Tupperware that has a really well sealing lid, and instead of squeezing it out, you can also just use a brush, and maybe next class I'll show you how to do that. But it's really easy, and I'll talk about it during the class as well. But I am going to turn the screen down in just a second, but I wanted to say you also need white paper, because you need it for your clouds and for the smoke that is coming out of your chimneys, and also your moon, because this is a night cityscape. So we're going to do this. Yay! And I'll turn the screen down. Okay, so this is my workspace. Usually I have my handy dandy cardboard covering thing to protect my lovely desk here at the firehouse. But since we're not using paint today, I don't need to cover it, but I'm gonna turn this so you can see there is my sample. Here are my scissors, my glue, pencil with an eraser, and my colored paper. So I'm going to move this to the side, and I want to make sure that I can see. Okay, fantastic. And all my cut paper, my colored paper will go to the side, and here is my black piece of paper that I'm going to be using as a background, and I'm going to move this other black piece of paper. So first things first, we want to take our scissors, put that right there so it doesn't roll, and we want to cut a little strip off of the side of our black. Okay, now this we are saving for our wheels and our windows for our car. Now we want to do it first because we don't want to glue everything down and then realize, oh wait, I need some black for my tires and for my window. So that is kind of speaking from experience because I did that. So if you have only one black piece of paper, make sure you cut a strip for tires. Okay, now we are going to do the land that is behind the road. And it doesn't really matter what color you used. I used brown, but it can really be any color that you want. So I'm going to use yellow this time, and I'm going to place it down onto my black piece of paper. I'm not going to glue it, I'm just placing it down there. And I'm going to draw a line all the way up here, which is where my horizon is, where the earth meets the sky. Okay, so it's this top line right here. And you can draw it as bumpy or as smooth as you want, just like that. Okay, so now I've made my line, and I'll show you what mine looks like. I am going to cut it out. So I'm just cutting along that line. And I've had many years of using a scissors practice. So if you are not as old as I am, you've probably not practiced as much, and it might take you a little bit longer, but that's okay. Try to be precise and cut along the line that you made for your ground, okay? So once you have that piece cut out, we are going to go to our glue. Now I have a glue stick, and I am going to put the glue on the outside edges of my paper. Now you only have to glue the outside edges of the paper. You don't need to put glue in the center because the glue on the outside edges is going to hold everything. If you had the Tupperware of glue and you were using a brush, you would take your brush and put it right around the edges. If you were using your bottle glue, you would take the bottle glue and draw a line of glue right along the edge. And I'm going to press it down just like that. And that is my, I guess my earth, my ground, that's right here. Okay? Now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to do our street right here. Now the street is going to be a curvy line that is going to be glued over our earth. It doesn't really matter how you do it, and if you have a full piece, you can lay it down on top of your design like this. Now you might be able to see your ground, but you might not, but it doesn't really matter. Just make sure it's within that space, and you can draw your street however you want to draw it. Just like that. So you see I've made two lines. This is the bottom of the street, this is the top of the street, and I'm going to cut them out. So once again, I'm going to try to stay on my line as I cut. just like that, okay? And I'm gonna cut the top edge now. So be careful as you're holding your paper because you don't want to cut your fingers. And cut slowly. And move these to the side. So I'm moving these to the side, but I am going to be able to use these colors very soon. So I'm not going to throw them into the recycling bin just yet. And so that is what my road is going to look like. So I'm going to see where I'd like it, and I like that. So now we're going to glue the road down. So we're building our layers. The first layer that we have is the earth. Second layer is the street. Once again, I'm just putting glue on the outside edge. Oh, and this overhangs, I forgot. So I'm gonna have to cut that little piece off. And I might need to add a little bit more glue. No, I don't. Okay, so now I have my earth, and my street, So next thing that we're gonna do is we have to add the yellow stripes that go down the street. Now the yellow stripes separate the street from, you know, the traffic that's going this way and the traffic that's going this way. So you're gonna find your yellow paper, and using your scissors, you are gonna cut a strip, a long strip of yellow paper. And you are going to try and cut it straight. There's this piece that's sticking out. So I'm gonna cut those pieces off first. And I got these little yellow skinny pieces. I'll just save those for later. I might be able to use those. But you want to cut a long strip of yellow paper, or white. Sometimes these stripes are white. So if you don't have yellow, you can use white. Then you are going to cut little sections off of that paper. So I'm going to hold it up closer so you guys can see. And these little yellow strips can fall to the table because you are going to collect them and use them for your street. You might end up having more than your street needs, which is actually excellent because you can use those then for your lit windows. See, so your windows. You're gonna go ahead and apply these to the street. So what I usually do is I hold it like this and I just put a little bit of glue on my piece of paper and then I press it down. You might get a little bit of glue on your fingers, but that's okay because it always washes off. So I'm applying the yellow stripe in the middle of my street. Now, after this is done, the street and the earth, you really can create any kind of cityscape that you want. We are going to be using rectangles of varying sizes, and even though they might be different colors and different sizes, they are still the same shape. So the defining characteristics of a rectangle are 4 sides, 4 corners. It doesn't matter how tall or how skinny or how wide or how short they are. The defining characteristics, meaning whatever makes a rectangle, are the 4 sides, and each side of these are parallel, so the lines don't intersect, and then the 4 corners. Okay, so we are going to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rectangles. As I said though, at this point you can make whatever kind of cityscape you want, but I'm going to show you how to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rectangles, all of different sizes, and I'm going to use 2 pieces of paper stacked just because I think that's the easiest way to make them, and I'm going to cut a thin strip and then I'm going to start with that. So I cut a thin strip, and now I have an orange and a red strip of paper. I'm going to make another cut, and now I have two rectangles. Now if you look really closely, I didn't cut very straight, so it's kind of a little bit diagonal, but that's okay, that'll work. So I have now a red rectangle and an orange rectangle, and I'm going to put my orange one here and my red one here. Then I'm going to go back to this strip, and I'm actually going to cut another one. Then I can use this one down here. So basically, go ahead and do the same kind of thing. Make your rectangles however you want and whatever color you want. I'm going to do blue next for this one right here. And maybe I'll do pink for a small one right here. So totally up to you. Go ahead and cut your rectangles, and then we will glue them on. I'm making another rectangle right here. Put that one right there. And then I'm going to do a pink one. So, as you can see, they're all different sizes, but they're basically the same shape. They're all rectangles. So, we've got an orange rectangle, pink rectangle, blue rectangle, red rectangle, and then another one right here, which is kind of a shorter, wider rectangle, or a rectangle turned on its side. Looks like that to you. And these are my houses. So I'm going to glue these down, and I invite you guys to cut your own, however you want to cut them, and then glue them down as well. Okay, so there's one. Two, and as you see, I'm overlapping onto the ground. I'm not just putting them right at the top. They actually are within this area right here. So I'm creating depth in my collage. Okay, so that is, I'm going to move this one closer, just like that. And this guy. So I didn't use a ruler or a straight edge to create my rectangles. If I had, they would probably be straighter and more precise, but that is okay for this project. Cap my glue, and I'm going to wait for you guys for a little bit just so we can be on the same task. So now we've already done these. Then we're going to do the windows and the roofs and then the chimneys. Okay. And luckily I have these yellow pieces that I cut for my windows. Okay. So I am going to get started gluing these little pieces that I had for my street as windows. You might want to cut them in half. They might be a little bit too long for windows. And once again, I'm holding it in my hand. I'm adding just a little bit of glue and putting them on. If you're using white glue in a bottle, try to put a little dot on each of these windows, or what you can do is you can put the dots on the rectangle and then you can place a window on top. If you are using a brush with glue, same thing for that. You can just put a little bit on the building and then add the square, or if it's a small enough brush, you can hold the window in your hand and put the glue on that way. Okay. So as you can see, some of these windows can be different shapes. These ones are a little taller, and I think having a variety of windows actually looks really cool. I'm going to do this one, like a big window at the top. Like that. Okay. So you guys keep adding your windows too. And some of these windows can maybe, some of these houses can maybe have 3 windows going across. Just like that. So if you guys are like me, you like to save your colored paper scraps just in case. I mean, you never know when you're going to have a project where you need a bunch of colored papers. This is a great project to use up some of those smaller pieces. And I am add this one. So that's all the yellow that I have already cut. So I'm going to cut a couple more strips, just one strip, I'll try that. And see if that's enough. I might need one more strip, we'll see. Okay, I think that's it. So keep working on your rectangles and your windows for your houses. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut the roofs. And if you guys can look at this sample, you'll see that the roofs are a different shape. They're a specific shape, and that is a triangle. So it's a triangle shape. Once again, the defining characteristics, no matter what color or size the triangle is, it has the same defining characteristics, which is 3 sides and 3 corners. Make a window in the center. I like this one because it kind of looks like a person with an eye and a nose. So I'm going to put my cap on my glue because we are going to do some cutting because we need to make the roofs. So how many roofs do we need? And they don't all have to be the same size, but we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need 5 roofs. Now, if you're doing some of these buildings as skyscrapers in a city, they don't have these pointy triangle roofs. You can keep them straight. That's totally up to you. So I'm going to cut triangles. So I'm going to cut 1 yellow triangle. I think that's going to go right there. I'm going to look at these guys, which I had saved from before, and maybe I can use some of these for triangles. So once again, using up my supplies, I'm going to put the red one there and maybe an orange one there. I've got pink. I can use pink. Okay. So your triangles, 1, 2, 3 sides, 1, 2, 3 corners where the lines meet. Put a pink one right there. Now I have one left. I'll do orange. Okay, so now all of my houses have roofs. Now I have to glue them on. And after the roofs, we get to do the chimneys. And the chimneys are a really great way to use up scrap paper because they are just little tiny strips of whatever color you have left over. So triangle goes there, and triangle goes here. And another triangle. And last triangle. Okay, now all of our houses have roofs or little hats, however you want to look at it. Now you can cut tiny rectangles for the chimneys. So I like the contrast. So if my roof is orange, I'm not going to use an orange chimney. I'm going to use a different color. So I'm going to plan this out before I glue. And then for that orange chimney right there, maybe I'll do a red one. So using up all my scraps, whoops, just like that. Okay, I'm gonna glue those on. And it doesn't matter what side you glue them on for the chimney. Oh, I still need one for there. I'll put one on there. Okay, there. So goes there, and this one goes, I'll put that one right there. Okay, so now I need one for this guy, and I'm going to do pink. So just using up some of the strips that I already have, or some of the colors. You know, when they get this tiny, then I can it's okay to throw away. I have a lot of pieces of construction paper in my house, and I save it and save it and save it until I can use it, or until it just gets to be too much and I have to just recycle a bunch. So now we have our houses with the windows and the chimneys. So houses, windows, roofs, chimneys. Now we need to do our clouds and the smoke coming out of the chimneys and our moon. Okay, so for the clouds, if you wanted to, you can draw a cloud on your white piece of paper, and all I do is just a kind of connected curvy lines. If you look at them really closely, they kind of look like C's, and they just kind of go around. There's a C, 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 C. And you can cut out some of these. As you can tell in my sample, I didn't do this where I drew them. I just kind of cut organic lumpy shapes. But if you feel like drawing them first, you can. So here are the ones that I drew, and I'm going to cut them out. You don't want to put too many loops, because if you put too many loops, then it gets really hard to cut out. Even for an old pro like me, it still takes a while to get around all of those little curves. So here's one. So if you wanted to, and you just wanted to cut like an organic shape, you could just cut and use like curvy lines like this, and you can do that. Or if you wanted to, you can follow along those lines. So there's two ways that you can do it for your clouds. And once my clouds are done, I'm going to glue them on. But I'm going to leave space somewhere for my moon. So don't fill the whole sky with clouds, even though it's fun to cut the shapes and they look cool. I'm going to glue it on, once again trying to glue the edges and not using too much glue. So only use as much glue as would take to glue something on, because I know it's hard to control sometimes, but we don't want puddles of glue. Okay, now the next thing that I'm going to do is my moon, and this one I'm actually going to draw because, excuse me, because I want it to be a C. So if you draw a C like that, the letter C, so it looks like that, right? And then you draw another C around it that's a little bit bigger, looks like that, and that is your moon shape. So I'm going to cut out my moon. I'm going to try and cut on the line for my C shape. And for this project, it is good to have your recycling bin next to you, or your trash can, because then these little tiny pieces, these pieces can go directly into the recycling bin and not onto the floor. And where's my glue stick? Here we go. So I'm gonna glue this guy to, oops, the paper. And there is my moon right there. Okay, so now we are almost done. We have our clouds, our moon. Now we just need to make the smoke, and the smoke can be just little tiny pieces of white paper. And it's just, there's no pattern whatsoever. It's just like a little curvy sliver, tiny little piece. It looks like that. And it can be however you want. Oops, that's my sample right here. And you don't have to do them for all of the chimneys. You can just do them for some. So this person is, has a fire going, so that chimney's going. And maybe this person also has one. But these guys don't. So I'm only gonna do 2. And I'm gonna glue those on. So one goes right there, and the other one goes right here. Oh wait, no. I added it to the top of the roof. There we go. Okay, so it goes right there. So now we have our clouds, our chimney smoke, our moon. If you want to erase that line around the moon, you can. We've got our buildings with our windows, our roofs. We've got the land, the street, and we need our trees now. So once again, closing up my glue because I'm going to do some cutting. And if you have brown, you can use brown, but really you can use any color. This is kind of like a really colorful version, so it's not necessarily realistic. We're going to cut a little strip of brown, and I'm going to cut one for a tree trunk. It's going to go down here, and then the other tree trunk is going to be right here. So glue those on. Now, as you can see, I used green on here, but you can use whatever. If you guys are familiar with the Trefoil trees from the Lorax, you know that those trees were not green at all. They were pinks and reds, really brightly colored. So if you wanted to make yours Trefoil trees, you can. Okay, so I'm going to put my tree down here. Now, I'm going to show you 2 ways to do your trees. And I think I am going to use red because I think that is going to look good. So you can either just cut a circle-like shape and then just leave it like that. So I'm going to do that. Circle-ish. So there's my circle-ish shape. Doesn't have to be exact. I'm going to glue it right there. And that is one tree. Or if you wanted it to be, you can make that into a stop sign. That can be whatever you want. Now I'm going to do the tree for this one. And for this one, I'm going to use orange, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make a larger circle-like shape out of my orange scrap piece of paper. So it looks like that. If you wanted to get really precise, you could trace things. You could trace a quarter. You could trace the end of your glue stick, whatever you want to do. But for this one, because I wanted to have that 3-dimensional look, I'll take these and put this in the recycling bin. So I'll show you guys. So this look right here where the tree branches kind of flip up like that, you can do it. You hold on to the circle piece and you make little cuts. Now you don't cut all the way to the center and you don't cut the pieces off. You just make little cuts through the paper like that. And so I'm actually going to draw on it so that you guys can see, because it is very easy to cut all the way through and cut little triangle pieces out, but you don't want to do that. So I'm going to draw on it first, and I'm going to be cutting on these lines. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys. Okay, so this is what my circle looks like. Okay, so none of the lines meet in the center. Kind of looks like there's like this sun part in the middle. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to cut it just on those lines and stop right at that where the line stops. Okay, so cut and stop. Cut and stop. So only cutting where that black line is, cutting and stopping before I get to the center. And I think that's it. Okay, then I'm going to take my glue stick or my glue, and I'm just going to apply glue right to the center that I didn't cut through. And then I'm going to place this on my tree trunk, just like this. Press it down. I'm going to hold it and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just to make sure it's out, it's down, and then I can lift up my little pieces to give it a three-dimensional look, just like that. And then it looks like my tree has branches that are coming out. So you gotta wait until it's fully glued on though. So if you're using white glue, it might take just a little bit longer, but see, there you go. And then I think the only thing we have left to do is our truck or our car. So for this, I'm going to use orange and I'm going to draw it. So I'm going to draw it with a permanent marker, but you can use a pencil. I'm only using a marker so you guys can see, because sometimes it's hard to see. I'm going to draw a shape. What shape is that? It's a rectangle. Then I'm going to draw another rectangle behind it, like that. So even though it's on its side, it's still a rectangle because you've got your two parallel lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then your 4 corners. Then I'm going to do another rectangle to the front, just like that. Okay? Then I'm going to cut it out. Now remember, we're not going to glue these down. These can be cars that drive up and down your street. If you wanted to, you can glue yours down. It's totally up to you. I'm going to turn it around. So now that is what my car looks like. I'm going to find the strip of black paper that I cut off originally from my piece of paper. I'm going to cut rectangles for my windows. I'm going to overlap them and apply them to my car. Just like that. And we are almost done because now we have to do the wheels and then we'll be done. So you only need 2 wheels because it is on a profile and the other wheels are on the other side. So cut a circle-ish shape, and one's going to go there and the other one's going to go on the back. You want to glue those guys on one, whoops, and the other one. This one's a really long car. And now you can drive it down the street. Stop it at the stop sign and then go right on. And then you can come this way. So you can put your car wherever you want. If you want to glue them on, you can. If you don't and you want it to be able to drive up and down your street, you can keep it separate. You can make more than one car. You can put one car going this way, one car going that way, however you want to do it. But that is our class for today. So our shapes, collage for cityscape and car. We can connect it even if you want, and ta-da! So I'm going to turn the screen up, and I have a couple of announcements. First off, I'm going to do this so you guys can see that. And then I'm going to turn the screen up. So, hi guys. I hope you guys had a fun time. I did. I had a lot of fun. It's, you know, sometimes when you, oh goodness, there goes my car. Sometimes when you are teaching or making art for yourself as an adult, you kind of forget the fun of cutting paper and gluing it and creating collages. So I hope you guys had a good time and that you enjoyed making your car and cityscape. And it's a really great way to use up some of that colored paper that you might have around your house. But I wanted to tell you guys, we're going to be having Art Walk downtown Longmont. So it's going to be downtown on Main Street. It's called Summer on the Streets. We've already done our July 11th events. Next is July 18th from 5 to 8 p.m. It's an art market. It's going to be on Main Street. We have 3 stages that are showcasing local musicians. There's a stage by Jensen's Guitar Company, and then there's also a stage by St. Stephen's. For this week, I don't think that there might be another musician up on our west stage, but we're not confirmed yet. But we're going to have artist booths and artists in action. So you're going to be able to see some artists painting along Main Street, and as well as musicians performing at these 3 stages. On July 25th, we're going to have our kids' art kits to go at St. Stephen's. So we are putting these art kits together right now, but we have local artists that are making a coloring book. And each of the coloring pages that they're making are going to be of Longmont and Colorado scenes, and this is sponsored by our Businesses on Downtown. So some of our sponsors are Premier Members Credit Union. Our stage sponsors are Jensen Guitar Company and Willow River Music Emporium, as well as Dryland Distillers. We're working very heavily with the Longmont Creative District and Longmont Downtown Development Authority, as well as being funded by SCFD. Crystal Joys, Ace, Ivy Rose, Simply Bulk, Ron's Printing Center, and the Historic Callahan House, as well as Laura Chittick. She does real estate. So these are some of our sponsors for Art Walk 2020, Summer on the Streets. This image, and it shows you all the dates and the times of when we're doing things, is on our Firehouse Facebook page, as well as the Art Walk Longmont Facebook page. So you can find this information of all the fun stuff that we have going on in the community live. We are following social distancing. We wanted to take Art Walk, which was like our big art festival 2 times a year, and we kind of split it up and chopped it up into smaller pieces because we felt that it would be safer for the community to have smaller events where we can control the crowds better. We can enforce mask wearing and also social distancing, and that's why we have the whole summer long of Art Walk. If you feel like you would rather view art and culture from your sofa, from the safety of your home, we also have our virtual market series. So if you look, Saturday, July 18th is our next market. And what you do is you actually can go to our website for the virtual market and click on the artists, and you can view them creating live as well as purchase from their Etsy sites and their online market sites. So whether you want to experience art downtown in person or virtually on your computer from the safety of your own sofa and the comfort of your own home, you know, we've got different options for you. So I will hopefully see you guys next week I'll post the classes. I know that I was a little late posting these, but I will post the classes on Sunday with all of the supplies, and hopefully I will see you next week. Stay creative, stay safe, and I will see you later. Thanks, guys. Bye.